So I'm going to be reading some, and I know this looks like a lot of pages, but there's a lot of scratched out parts too. And so I decided, I had a little bit of a kind of a breakthrough aha moment with this song, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." We sing it, I like to bring it out and sing it in different church settings where I play, up in Unity, New Braunfels, Unity, San Marcos. And one day I was singing it, and it just suddenly thought, wow, I had this deeper insight. And so, it's a sweet little lilting tune, and that's what I always liked about it. But the words were almost childlike, and what a songwriter, professional songwriter, might call a ditty or a jingle, kind of. But then I suddenly realized, no, there's a lot more to this. And I wanted to find out more, and so I, went into the Google and I looked up who wrote the song. Well, it's attributed to a guy named Joseph Brackett, Jr. Now, he was born in 1797. That's a long time ago. And he died in 1882, so he lived to be a ripe old age. But he wrote this song midway through his life. And he was a Shaker. His parents were Shakers, and they actually had a small little Shaker community on their property. And he continued to be a Shaker until his death. So then I thought, well, okay, well, what else can I learn about the song? Well, I had remembered that Aaron Copland had used it, and he is an American composer, in a composition called Appalachian Spring. And that had been commissioned by a wealthy lady for Martha Graham, who was a dancer and a choreographer, to make a ballet. And so that was done back in 1944. So imagine, that's World War II is happening. And they said Copland had just gone back, and she had said she wanted something kind of primitive, early American, and he'd been going back through the, archives. Maybe he went to, the National whatever, where they keep stuff like that, and found these old hymns, these Shaker hymns, and he thought, well, this one's got a catchy little tune. And so that's how it kind of got well known. So she produced that ballet in 1944, and it was well received. And then in 1945, Aaron Copland won the Pulitzer Prize for that piece, Appalachian Spring. And so, I was kind of fiddling with the numbers, and I thought, okay, it was written in 1848. In 1945, well, that's, almost 100 years later, a song that got written won a Pulitzer Prize. And then now, here's 2025, and we're still singing it, I'm talking about it, and that's 177 years after it's been written. And I thought, Rudy, there's still hope for us. So we got to keep writing. Anyway, I also learned that there's an organization called the Tune Lovers Society, and they have created a Joseph Brackett Day to celebrate his amazing talent as a songwriter and composer. And he eventually became an elder in the United Society of Believers in Christ's Second Appearing. Okay, so now we're getting into the Shakers. Now, what were they about? So, why and how are we going to make this into like a little something that will be thought-provoking to y'all and meaningful, I hope? Well, I had been thinking about two things had happened in the last 6 months that had got me thinking. And one was a Catholic friend who said he'd given up his cell phone, and he was just going to try and make his life a little simpler. And he went back to just having a landline and an answering machine. And oh, don't I miss those days. But he said the thing that was really bothering him about cell phones, too, was how the selfie craze and the social media. And he said to him, he felt like the younger people were making gods of themselves. And I had never thought about it that way. but or at least icons, and that was disturbing to him. And, so that would have been percolating around my mind. And then I was having a conversation with Lucille. Now, I am very fortunate. I had two mothers. And the mother that birthed me lived to be 101, but she's gone now. But we had a black housekeeper that worked for my parents for 20 years. And she was there from the day I got brought home from the hospital. And she's 96 now, and her name is Lucille. And we talk a couple times a week. Just a little background on her, she had a sixth grade, after sixth grade, she was taken out of school, and started working. And I think she came to my parents when she was about 16. But she's the wisest woman I've ever met. And I just value these conversations we have because I can talk to her about anything. And she also has only really read in depth one book, and that's the Bible. And she knows the Bible, backwards and forwards. And so we're talking, and I was saying, people just seem to be getting more self-centered. Have you noticed that? And she said, well, you should read 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. And I said, Timothy? I didn't even know there's a book in the Bible called Timothy. So I looked it up. There is. It's after Colossians, and there are two Timothys, and they're very short. But I read what it was she had quoted. It goes like this. Know this also. Oh, and I should tell you that she kind of thinks we're in the end of days. And, that crossed my mind every now and then. So she said, know this also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers. Boy, this is getting worse and worse. Lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. Now that hit me. But this was the line that really got me. Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth. Mm-hmm. Well, that just gave me a chill right now. I haven't given myself chills. That's good. That's a good sign. But I'll tell you what, I've thought a lot about this. And it seems to me every age is perilous. And as Jesus said, there will always be wars and rumors of wars. And oddly enough, I find that comforting. Because I know right now a lot of people are filled with despair, doom, gloom, fears about the way things are. But I think life's always had a mean, slippery slope to it. It's always been challenging. And the thing that actually comforts me the most is reading history. Because I go back and I go, well, okay, they were doing this back then, they were doing it there, and then, it's but that's me. But to be ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth, and how can I apply that to now? And so I'm trying to learn more as I go on, but am I actually coming to the knowledge of truth? So I thought, well, okay, let's read up on the Shakers and see what their take on it all was. So now I'm going to give you a short lecture on what I've learned about Shakers, how it got started, how they lived, and how that song came into being. And just as a sidebar, I brought this book I have on Shakers that is pretty fabulous. It's got amazing pictures if y'all want to look at it. And the pictures, the craftsmanship, the simple Zen interiors, the artisans of artistry, I don't know if that's a real word, artisanry, but they could do so many things with their hands, and that's what they dedicated themselves to, and they devised ingeniously and implemented anything they needed to survive. And everything that they put their hands to, it transmitted a sense of order and a serenity and a sacredness. So I thought that was, just looking at those pictures, it made me think, this is a very interesting group of people. And how did they come to be? Well, just quickly, okay, just outline. There was the Protestant Reformation, that was back in the 16 and 1700s. And then these French Protestants got kind of run out of France and came over to England, and they influenced the people that became the Quakers. And the Quakers, let's see, where are they? Or Society of Friends, were founded, it says, in 1652 by George Fox. And they thought that direct knowledge of Christ was possible to each individual without the need of a church or a priest or a book. Their belief was that God exists in all people. And I thought, well, I believe that too. And then they, so y'all know about Quakers. They're a little better known, and there's still Quakers around. But it turns out that the Quakers kind of had an offshoot, a sect, that they called them the Shaking Quakers. And that, because when they were having their services, and that's, the Quakers got their name, it said, from a process of worship where their violent tremblings and quakings predominated. And so this kind of split off into the Shakers. And when was that? Let's see, that was about, Shakers, yeah, it was around 1758. Okay, so one of these people, who was the daughter of Quakers, was named Anne Lee. And she was kind of regarded as the founder of Shakerism, but they also thought that she was the female incarnation of Jesus, a female second coming of Christ. Well, have any of y'all ever heard that? I hadn't either. I come along, I'm like, then they haven't made a movie about this yet? I mean, I just can't believe it. And so her life, okay, just a quick nutshell of her life. She was born, well, they can't even say for sure, because her parents were so poor Quakers, that he was a blacksmith. There were a bunch of children. So they have said she was born sometime around 1736, 38. And she was illiterate. They couldn't afford to send her to go to school to learn how to read. And so an illiterate person from a poor family ends up starting a sect in England. But then she was, forced into child labor, then kind of had to marry a blacksmith guy that she probably would rather not have married, and had 4 children who all died in infancy. Now, can you imagine? Just think about this life. And so, but she became to believe, and this, I know some of you have heard that Shakers, believed in not having conjugal relations, except for procreation of children. And of course, eventually the sect died out. But she believed that from original sin, which was Adam and Eve, having sex, that was bad. And that partners should only use sex for procreation, and that celibacy was necessary to attain perfect holiness. Well, sometimes, well, I'm not going to say anymore, but when you're trying to be holy, okay. Anyway, so she taught the shaking and trembling they experienced during worship was caused by sin that was being purged from your body. And around 1770, let's see what happened, they began calling her the Mother Ann, because she'd had some kind of special, kind of mystical experience. But meanwhile, she'd been gotten arrested, she'd gotten thrown in jail several times for hollering and shaking and making a spectacle of herself in churches. And so she decided, and she'd heard about America and the freedom of religion, and so she and her husband and a couple other people came on over here, and they settled in north of Albany, New York. And from that, you know, she established this religion. And what's so amazing was how excellent it was. I mean, it was communal living. Let me just read a little bit. With the celibacy, but they became really, she had this saying here, it was, I may have skipped a page, but it was about, it was simple. And you know, all our little sayings were kind of simple. One thing they believed, if you improve in one talent, God will give you more. And they proved that within their group because they were, you know, they became excellent tinsmiths, blacksmiths, spinning, weaving, dyeing, cooking, cabinet making, dairying, orchard work, beekeeping, masonry, carpentry, dentistry, medicine, basket making, butchering, gartering, producing much of everything that they needed, as well as they would sell a lot of things. And that's how they made income. And they pooled all the money, and they had just a couple people that had business heads, you know, to handle the money. And then they let their artisans were free to do their best without worrying about economic survival in their unhurried but steady pursuit of excellence. And I thought, wow, that would be nice. They also believed that work and worship weren't separated. One elder said, you don't have to get down on your knees to say a prayer. If you're working, you can say a prayer. You can say a prayer, you know, anytime and get connected to God. And, oh yeah, here's that saying. She said, your hands to work, your hearts to God, and a blessing will attend you. And one of her followers said, this we have found to be true. And if you study about them, it was really inspiring. So to read about what they had accomplished. And let's see, it said that their work became synonymous with excellence, and that their reward was the satisfaction of a job done well for its own sake. And their philosophy was from each according to his ability, to each according to their need. But now here's another thing. They believed women and men were equal in ability and responsibility. And they shared equally in leadership. Each community had 2 elders and 2 eldresses. And they were pacifist, and they did not believe in slavery. Okay, so this is like, go back all the way to like 1770, 78, and, you know, slavery was really rampant then. And even when Simple Gifts, the song was written, I was thinking, that was 1848, 12 years before the beginning of the Civil War. And the Shakers, they didn't believe in slavery, and they had black converts who they accepted as equals in the Shaker community. So they were really ahead of their time. And a lot of the things they did too, engineering-wise, the way they, you know, managed water and plumbing and their farming, and they just were ingenious. And for a long time, you know, and they would welcome anyone in, they would feed people, they would let people come to observe their services. They said Charles Dickens came, Ralph Waldo Emerson came and watched them, and, you know, it was just fascinating. Nathaniel Hawthorne. So anyway, there you are, the Shakers, and I guess what I wanted to say to kind of wrap things up. Oh, there was one other part I forgot. About the time that Mr. Brackett, you know, started writing, they said that he got there was a whole kind of phenomena happened where some of the believers, that's what they call their members, were getting messages from the spirit world. And they said some of them had gotten messages from Native Americans and their tribes, and they were constantly writing songs. And they said they wrote thousands of songs. And I can't wait to go, find a book and order one. And they'd even come up with their own way of how to, put the music down instead of writing it normally like we'd see it on staffs. But they were getting, and they said that Mr. Brackett got this inspiration for simple gifts from the spirit of a Negro slave. So how interesting is that? Well, anyway, so to me, here I was thinking this song was so kind of childlike and like a little ditty and a little jingle and stuff. But the more I thought about it, and the more I've been thinking about just a lot of stuff. Let's see. I thought, no, this song is deeper than that. These people really, created something. At their peak, they had about 6,000 members, and there were about 15 different communities spread all the way from New England down to Kentucky and out to Ohio. And this is kind of what I take. Everybody, when I write a song, it means something to me, and I hope it'll mean something to somebody else. But sometimes I'll realize, well, I didn't even know I was kind of saying that when I said it. And then, of course, that's for me. But art is interpreted by each of us individually. And it's really, ultimately, is what it means to you when you receive it. And so here's what simple gifts kind of means to me now. It goes, 'tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free. To me, that's keep it simple. Rejoice with every breath you take. 'Tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. Don't get the big head. We're all children of God, all here for each other. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, be glad where you are. Accept the way it is now. Be joyful in all circumstances. 'Twill be in the valley of love and delight. No need to be climbing mountains to prove our importance. Valleys are safe, good places to live and to share love with others and to live for others. When true simplicity is gained, cast off the frippery, let go of pridefulness. Feel the love, the serenity, and inner peace through your faith. To bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. Serve others with grace, good humor, and humility. To turn will be our delight. Look around, see who you can help next. And by turning, we come down right. Extend helping hands as you sing, dance, and pray. And dream a dream, and let the world go by.
With eyes open or eyes closed, let's take those words inside, each in our own way. Come simply present to who we are now, not who we were, Not who we'd like to be someday when we're smarter, better, stronger, but just who we are now. Not alone, but together with all of creation. Feel yourself connected to everyone in this room. Feel that you have come on your spiritual journey. With your unique religious background, your education, your family of origin, your wounds and scars, your joys and sorrows, all have brought you to this moment, this simple, precious, present moment now. Feel the power of letting go of your identity, your role, your duties, your aspirations, and just be present with what is, which is a simple gift of life, of this precious moment now. Feel the power of this breath you're taking now. Knowing that not even Bill Gates or Elon Musk can buy a better breath than the one you're having now. Feel yourself inhabiting this body. For whatever aches and pains you might have had in this moment, your body temple is the sacred place where your awareness is indwelling. Feel the preciousness of this simple gift. And now feel that these gifts are not just for you, however pleasant and good it may be to be in this body, feeling this love and this peace and this breath. It is not for you alone, but to be shared. So in whatever way you can, send your love out into the world to one particular person. Start with a person that you love. And then send love to a person that's challenging in your life, whether in this room, in this town, living in Washington, D.C., across the world. Send love to someone, something that is challenging to you. Send your simple gift of love and blessing. And finally, send your love and blessing to all beings, all nations, all of creation. Feel love pouring out from you into the world to bless those who are living through war and famine. To bless those you've never met. simply because it is a gift to be able to send blessing out. And feel it come back to you, reflected, magnified, and multiplied by the power of your willingness to feel your connection to yourself, to your loved ones, to all creation. We are one. May you, may we, may all beings be blessed by your willingness to experience and express this simple truth. And so it is. Amen.